Hey guys, it's Mark, and I'm the part-time British guy. Pulling
All
this
right, so it
breakfast.
might not be basics per se, but I'm going to start by making what is hopefully a pretty authentic full English breakfast. And that starts with the delightfully named Bubble and Squeak, a sort of fried mashed potato and cabbage patty. So I've got 3 large russet potatoes that I'm cutting into half-inch chunks and placing to cold salted water, wherein they shall be brought to a rolling boil and cooked for about 10 to 12 minutes until completely tender. Then, using a spider or slotted spoon, we're fishing them out and spreading them on a rim baking sheet, and in their place we're adding a couple handfuls of shredded green cabbage, which we're going to return to the boil and cook for about 8 minutes.
Okay, shredded green cabbage. So that's going to be interesting because I don't really cook too much with cabbage, but we can
Just
try.
enough time to rice our tubers. That is, make them into a very smooth and fluffy mash by virtue of a ricer. You could just mash them by hand, but this is going to give you a lighter, smoother texture. Back into the warm pot it goes, along with the cooked cabbage, and half a small diced yellow onion that I've sauteed in 50 grams or half a stick of unsalted butter. Season to taste with kosher salt and freshly ground black pepper. Mix until everything is evenly distributed throughout the potatoes. Taste for seasoning, and this guy is ready for the big fry-up. Now, the wide variety of meats is actually what makes this inaccessible for most Americans. First up, bangers, the quintessential British breakfast sausage, back bacon, which is a cured, very thinly sliced part of the pork loin, and black pudding or blood sausage, which is exactly what it sounds like. And an apparently essential element is Heinz beans, which are just baked navy beans in a light tomato sauce. You can often find these in the international aisle of your local grocer. We're also going to be making an at-home approximation later on.
Okay, let us just go back to the blood sausage real quick. Now I went to Cheeky Bastards and I tried the full English breakfast. I wasn't sure whether I liked blood sausage or not. It was just kind of one of those different tastes, and it was kind of I don't know, just I don't know if I like it or not kind of situation. All right, so black beans.
You can often find these in the international aisle of your local grocer. We're also going to be making an at-home approximation later on. These guys are simply heated up in a pot, and the rest of this stuff you could cook in multiple pans, but ideally you want to cook this on one big flat top so all the meat fats and veggies and eggs can intermingle. So if you got a camping stove or a giant pancake griddle, now's the time to further justify its purchase. Now you want hotter and cooler spots for searing, finishing, and keeping warm. The searing spots should be hot enough to make canola oil lightly smoke, so about 225 degrees Celsius. We're starting with the bangers and the back bacon because the bangers are going to take a while to cook, and the back bacon, once seared, can just hang out in a cooler part of the grill while everything else cooks. Once everybody's nicely browned, we're going to scoop them out of the way to make room for a little bit of butter, wherein we're going to saute about 400 grams of cleaned and quartered cremini mushrooms. These guys contain a lot of moisture, so they're going to have to cook for about 8-9 minutes.
Okay, I'm not a big mushroom person, but let's continue.
We're on the other searing surface, we are relubricating with canola oil, then plopping down and patting flat 2 fistfuls of our bubble and squeak mixture, searing those for 30 to 90 seconds on each side, re-oiling when we flip them so that our soft and fluffy potatoes develop a nice crisp crust. Now,
they're thicker than like hash browns. You know what I'm saying? They're fluffier, but they still crisp the same way.
Any point you feel so inclined, you can add your slices of blood sausage. These simply get seared quickly on both sides and can be kept warm until ready to serve. Once the taters are nice and toasty, I'm re-oiling that side of the griddle and searing some cherry tomatoes on the vine. Now you can use whole larger tomatoes, either cut in half or quarters, but I like the way these guys look. They're a little more fantastical. Now once the mushrooms are nearly done cooking, I'm making a little room for 2 slices of white bread spread with butter, aka fried bread. Toast 15 to 30 seconds per side until lightly browned. Re-oil the fry pan one more time if necessary, and drop down 2 large eggs to be fried and flipped to a state of over-easiness. I made enough other stuff for multiple breakfasts, but I'm only...
Wow, okay, that's a lot right there. There's a lot going on right there.
Eggs to be fried and flipped to a state of over-easiness. I made enough other stuff for multiple...
Wow. I mean, I realize the full English breakfast has a lot going, but it also has a lot going when cooking. You got to keep an eye on a lot of stuff here.
simple breakfast, but I'm only doing 2 eggs because I'm just making 1 plate for demonstration. And now the fun part. Everything gets fancifully arranged on the biggest possible platter so that each rich and savory ingredient is fully on display. And there you have it. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this. An as authentic as possible, full English breakfast, which is just as delicious as it looks. Even the blood sausage. Normally I'm not a fan of eating blood, but this stuff is delicious. Now I imagine a full English breakfast is what they may have eaten in the wizarding world, but for my fellow muggles, I wanted to make an Americanized version with ingredients that are a little easier to find around these parts. First,
Okay.
the potato element. We're starting again with peeled russets, this time
Easy.
left whole and plunged directly into boiling water. We're going to use our tater tot method to make a common stand-in for bubble and squeak, hash browns. We're cooking these whole taters for about 15 minutes until they're well cooked on the outside but still pretty raw on the inside, which, once we've allowed them to cool until handleable, is going to make a nice mixture of shreddy mash when we shred them, by virtue of the large holes of a box grater. Now we want visible shreds, but we don't want them to be too long, as that will compromise the structure of our hash brown. So you can give them a thorough chopping with a knife or bench scraper so that no shreds exceed, let's say, an inch in length. Then we're making a combination of 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, 1 tablespoon all-purpose flour, a few twists of pepper, about a half teaspoon of kosher salt, and optionally half a teaspoon of garlic powder, which is all I have left apparently, a half teaspoon of onion powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Tiny whisk this mixture to a state of homogeneity, sprinkle evenly over the potatoes, and get to mixing and mashing. It's pretty hard to overmix this. If you do, your hash browns might end up a little gummy, but we want to knead it almost like a dough until it holds its shape when pressed into a patty, which is the shape that we're going to press it into. The ovular shape, familiar to Americans, and the rounded triangle shape, more popular across the pond. Now we're going to pop these guys in the freezer for at least an hour and up to a long time, both so they can hold their shape with frying and end up with a fluffier interior. Once rock solid, they're headed into some 375-degree Fahrenheit peanut oil, the deep frying oil of your choice, where they're going to fry for 3 to 5 minutes or until deeply golden brown and crisp. Give them a careful flip halfway through, as they will not yet be fully rigid, and drain on paper towels, salting while still hot. Now for the beans. I'm sauteing about half a cup of chopped onion and a tablespoon of vegetable oil for about 3 minutes until translucent, adding 2 cloves of crushed garlic and 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Sauteing for about 30 more seconds or until fragrant, then deglazing the pan with 1 cup of chicken stock, then adding 3/4 of a cup of tomato.
Chicken stock? Chicken stock? Okay.
Sauteing for about 30 more seconds or until fragrant, then deglazing the pan with 1 cup of chicken stock, then adding 3/4 of a cup of tomato puree, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon apple cider vinegar, and 2 teaspoons of molasses, stirring to combine and bringing to a gentle simmer before adding 2 cans of drained and rinsed navy beans. Bring that back up to a simmer, lowering the heat and gently cooking for about 20 minutes, uncovered so that the sauce can reduce and be a little less liquidy. Cover and keep warm until ready to serve, because now it's time to meat. Our carnivorous stand-ins are going to be bacon, Canadian bacon, and breakfast sausage. Now, to streamline things and to imitate the commingling of the flat top, we're baking the bacon and breakfast sausage in a 400-degree Fahrenheit oven for about 20 minutes, flipping the sausage about halfway through and baking until everything is cooked through and crisp. Then hopefully we should be left with a pool of hot bacon and sausage fat, into which we can pour our quartered mushrooms and arrange our thick, beefy slices of Roma tomato, making sure to flip to coat in bacon fat. Get this guy back in the oven and let it go for about 20 minutes. Halfway through, we're shuffling the mushrooms and flipping the tomato slices and shingling down some rounds of Canadian bacon. Return to the oven for the final 10 minutes, flipping the Canadian bacon after 5. Then all there is left to do is fry up our eggs in a big pool of bubbling butter. This time I'm going for sunny side up, covering if necessary to finish cooking the whites. Then it's time for the fun part again. This time I'm going for a sort of lateral layering, finishing things up with plain toast instead of fried bread for health. And there you have it, the full American / Canadian, I guess. Is it as good as its British contemporary? I gotta say, not really. American bacon and hash browns are unilaterally awesome, but our breakfast sausages do not hold a candle to bangers. Now I'm a little full from all the breakfast I've been eating, so luckily I've got the crew here to help me induct it into the Club Club. Thanks again to Warner.
Okay. Wow, that was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. What did you guys think of that? I mean, I wanted something that was, traditional, British English breakfast, full English breakfast. But, a lot of the videos that I saw that I could do a reaction to were like well over 10 minutes. So leave a comment. Let me know what you think. If you like the video, by all means, please hit like, hit that subscribe, and tell your friends about me. I'm Mark Stise, the part-time British guy.